DoggieDiamondTV.com. Yeah, what it is, people. It's your boy, Doggie Diamonds. You already know what I do. I got asked to come down here. I got invited here by these good brothers right here. And I'm honored because, you know, when the nation calls you, you got to go. So my brother Jabril called me and he wanted me to interview this brother right here. He said it's very, very important. So introduce yourself to the people.
I'm Brother Demetric Muhammad. I'm a student of the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, and I serve on Minister Farrakhan's research team.
Oh, so when you say research team, what does that consist of?
Well, it consists of basically historical research into the vindication of the teachings of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, as well as a defense of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, his teachings, and the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan.
So is it like a study group, like you put in certain hours that you have to study and new findings, or certain books that you have to read?
Well, I wouldn't say so much as that, but we serve at the pleasure of the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, and we complete various assignments and help him as he prepares various messages. Many people are aware of the minister's historic and profound series of talks entitled The Time of What Must Be Done, which was webcast over a period of time of 58 weeks. And so we collaborated with other members of the research team serving the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan's research needs.
When did you join the Nation of Islam?
I joined the Nation of Islam about 25 years ago, 1990 is the date that I registered and got my X in 1990.
So what was your spiritual awakening like? What type of person were you prior to joining the Nation?
Well, I don't have the kind of testimony that many people are familiar with in terms of the Nation. Many, come from a life of the streets and things like that. But I grew up and I came into the teachings of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad in my parents' home because my father became a student of the teachings of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad under Minister Farrakhan's leadership. And, prior to coming into the Nation of Islam, my first love was sports, football. And my thought was that, I would work hard to become a professional athlete. But once I began to read Message to the Black Man and the Honorable Elijah Muhammad really condemning quite sternly sport and play, I really gave it up and began to fall in love with his teachings and the mission that teaching invited me to.
What's the difference between the mission then and mission now? Is the mission still the same?
The mission is the same, of course, from a scriptural perspective. In the words of Jesus, in his early missioning of his disciples, he instructed them not to go into the way of the Gentile and the Samaritan, but go only to the lost sheep of the house of Israel. But as his ministry grew and a certain period of time came, and he amended those instructions, and he said, now go ye and teach all nations, kindreds, and tongues. And so that's similar to the work of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad that's today being carried out through Minister Farrakhan. And so many people were intrigued that 10-10-15, the minister invited and received and gave platform to our indigenous brothers and sisters from various tribes in the Native American community. You see now many brothers and sisters from the so-called Latino community are part of the Nation of Islam. You see many brothers and sisters from other so-called ethnic groups that are part of the Nation of Islam. So in this dispensation of time, that mission is inclusive of all of the human family.
So is there, to become a member of the Nation of Islam, is there like some rigorous program you have to go through? Do you got to go through boot camp, or you have to, what does it entail without, giving away, everything? But what is the number one thing you must do?
6 words: accept your own and be yourself.
Okay.
That's what's required to become a member of the Nation of Islam. Like any community, there are those things and procedures that we ask for those who want to become registered members.
Okay.
But according to our teaching, all of our people 4,400,000,000 across the globe are part of the Nation of Islam. It's just some of us have acknowledged that fact, and we have become registered members of the Nation of Islam. But essentially, one would be expected to sincerely desire to be a righteous person, one who is a doer of good to others, and one who agrees to live according to the laws of God.
So what about the brothers that say, I like what y'all saying. I want to be down, but I can't give up them ham hocks. I can't give up no pork chops. And I love me some white women. What do you say to them?
Well, I say to those brothers that, we love you. You are our brothers. And we just encourage you to continue to study, because, the more knowledge that you come into, you give up those things willingly. The Nation of Islam doesn't force us to give up anything. Minister Farrakhan teaches us, and on the basis of what we hear him teach, what we learn, and what we come into an understanding of, we fall away from those things that are against our nature, and we fall away from those things that are not good for us. So Islam, is not this dogmatic, stereotypical religion where people are going to be rapping you on your knuckles if you don't say so many Hail Marys, or following you around, spying on you. No, we have a degree of righteous conduct that's based upon our understanding of God, self, and what our real human potential is. And so once you come into that understanding, you don't want to eat something that's going to be deleterious of your health, which is swine or pork. You don't want to build a family with those that are the children of your oppressors. So there are things that you do willingly as an aware, wide awake black man once you come into truth.
This is a word that I like to deal with my audience a lot. And I want to know what the word means to you. Discipline. I like to talk to them about discipline, and I like to tell them that discipline, once you find your discipline, there's nothing that you can't accomplish. There's nothing that you can't do, and nothing can steer you wrong once you're disciplined. What does the word discipline mean to you?
Now, I agree with all of that, brother. I think that that's one of the missing ingredients in the lives of our people, especially our youth. And we have been deceived into thinking that to be undisciplined, to not live according to any rules, to not live according to any laws, is equated with freedom. However, I heard the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan say once that really that kind of freedom is nothing more than license. The freedom to sin is nothing more than license. That's the reason why they often refer to sin as licentious behavior, because no human being really has a right to live a life that is undisciplined, violating the laws of God. Man, in fact, is the only being in nature that violates God's laws. The trees obey God's laws. The animals obey God's laws. The earth obeys God's laws. If they did not, human life would cease to be in existence. If this earth, that some used to refer to as Mother Earth, did not spin on its axis at 23.5 degrees and travel at a rate of speed of 1,037 1/3 miles per hour around the sun, if it stopped, if it altered its disciplined obedience to God, it would radically alter life as we know it. So since we are creatures that depend on the discipline of Allah's creation, it really should compel us to be disciplined ourselves and obey that law. And once we obey that law and come into some discipline, we really find that our potential is unleashed, and we can achieve whatever we can conceive in our mind of good for ourselves, our family, and our communities.
I want to talk to you about 10-10-15. Is justice or else? A lot of people were confused of what is the or else. If you had to define what the or else is, how would you define that for the people?
Well, it is based upon the position that Minister Farrakhan holds as a man who is a divine messenger of God. And if you look at the histories of the messengers of God, part of their three-pronged assignment was to give good news, to give guidance, but to also give a warning. So people love and they praise Jesus, but oftentimes they forget that Jesus gave a warning to the rulers. He gave a warning to the wicked. He gave warning to the hypocrites. Moses was great, and the Jewish community, they love Moses. But Moses was not just a figure that taught, but he also gave a warning to Pharaoh. Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, he not only taught and gave good news to the believers, but he gave a warning. And that warning was that if you do not as a nation, if you do not as a government, if you do not as a human being amend your ways and bring your ways into agreement with the way of God, then the chastisement and the wrath of God is to be expected. And all believers in God, I think there's a certain verse of scripture that says the beginning of wisdom is the fear of God. And so day by day, we see that the rulers of this world and the people who they lead really have no fear of the wrath and the chastisement of God, even though it has already entered into America. And so when the minister says justice or else, he's saying to the government, he's saying to all in leadership, he's even saying to all of us as individuals, if we do not give justice to those whom we have the power to give justice to, we should expect the wrath of God to visit us. And that may manifest itself in a variety of forms, not the least of which is the forces of nature being arrayed against us.
All right, so you're in Brooklyn, New York. What is you have a speaking engagement sometime today?
Yes, we'll be the guests of student minister Henry Muhammad and the believers of Muhammad's Mosque number 7C in Brooklyn.
Okay.
And tonight we will be discussing a subject entitled, Didn't Y'all Kill Malcolm? Clearing the Nation of Islam of the assassination of Malcolm X.
It's kind of like a rhetorical question, all right? It's like
Sure. It's a popular question that any of these brothers who are with us here tonight, we've heard it time and time again. It's an old canard, if you will, against the nation. And people always want to know, didn't we kill Malcolm? It's a propaganda strategy by the same forces who have always worked to destroy the work of the Nation of Islam, to insert that falsehood and that false narrative in the minds of the people, especially the youth, so that as they hear the minister and they are drawn to him, they stay at a safe distance, because in the back of their mind they say, well, I like what Farrakhan has to say, but that's the dude that killed Malcolm. And of course, Malcolm has been made to be their hero.
So at what point do you not address that anymore? Like, is there ever going to be a point that you just say, y'all believe what y'all want to believe, that's it, we're not going to talk about this anymore? It's been over 50 years. We've already been proven not guilty. It's just slander, propaganda, rumors, and gossip. At what point do you say, we're not talking about this anymore?
Well, I think that the fact that it constantly comes up, it compels us to address it with as much facts, evidence, and truth as we can. I don't want anyone to ever say that, the nation, ask them this question, they're going to run away from it. They're not going to answer it. No, we will address whatever question is presented to us that we have the ability to answer. Now, if we don't know, then we be honest and say, well, brother, I don't know. Give me an opportunity to find out, and I'll bring the answer to you. But I think that as long as black youth, who are really the ultimate target of this propaganda campaign. So you have to understand, in 1977, when the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan stood up to rebuild the Nation of Islam, the powers that be thought this idea of a black separate nation for black people, black nationalist Islam, the Nation of Islam, they thought all of that stuff was over and done with, because history shows the Nation of Islam ceased to exist, and under Imam Wahiduddin Muhammad, the Muslims went in a different direction. They were mainly basically just a religious entity and organization. But when the minister stood up to rebuild it, and he became the most popular black speaker in America, and then the youth culture which had this burgeoning art form called hip hop, was ringing in the ears of young people all over the country, and hip hop was sampling the speeches of Minister Farrakhan and Malcolm X and Dr. Khalid Abdul Muhammad and the Honorable Elijah Muhammad as well. The powers that be, they said, wow, we thought this thing was over and done with, but here it is again. This is a problem for us. And so now you have the reintroduction. It's during that time period, which we will talk about tonight, that you have the reintroduction, the posthumous, from beyond the grave reintroduction of Brother Minister Malcolm X. And he's given to black youth as a hero, a model, and an example. And at the same time, they are told to look to Louis Farrakhan as the source of his assassination. So they make Malcolm the hero of the youth and then blame Malcolm's murder on Minister Farrakhan. So again, the wicked strategy of smite the shepherd, scatter the flock, kill two birds with one stone, and basically continue as with business as usual. So I think we have to continue to address it, especially now that we believe Allah has blessed us with the armaments of argumentation to completely destroy and annihilate this myth.
So for the people who can't make it to the speaking engagement tonight, to the lecture tonight, where's some of the, can you point them in a direction where they possibly could do some research of their own to help dispel this rumor and this myth that the Nation of Islam, Minister Farrakhan in particular, has something to do with the murder of Malcolm X? Where can you point them to say, look here?
Well, the first place I would direct them to is NOI.org.
Okay.
Because over the years, Minister Farrakhan has addressed this subject quite often. If it is the will of Allah, tonight's lecture may go up online. We also are preparing a written response to this criticism that will compile our research and create a new narrative. So I would start with NOI.org or YouTube and looking at the various responses to this criticism already provided by Minister Farrakhan.
So your mission tonight is to speak on this. Overall, your day-to-day, what is your day-to-day like? Because you know, for people who has not a part of the Nation of Islam, we probably just like, they must be boring. They don't have no fun. They don't laugh. They don't play sports. They don't do nothing. You just see them with their suits and just stand there, and they don't look like somebody to mess with. What is your day-to-day activity like?
Well, you know, I think I would tell anybody some of the greatest comedians, some of the greatest singers, some of the greatest hip-hop artists are members of the Nation of Islam.
Wow.
So we're not a group that does not enjoy a joke, that does not enjoy music and lawful recreation. But my day-to-day is spent trying to be a good husband, trying to be a good father, you know, trying to provide for my family. And my passion is the defense of Minister Farrakhan and the Nation of Islam.
So how do you decide when you wear a bow tie or a straight tie?
That's a funny question. I think that, you know, for 20 years I used to make bow ties. I used to wear them all the time.
Okay.
But I'm kind of semi-retired from that trade, if you will. But it's basically based upon the occasion. That's what determines your attire, you know. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad wanted us to be opposite our people, because our people, under the influence of our slave masters' children, were constantly being undressed. So he instructed his students and followers to be dressed up, because opposites attract and likes repel. And he wanted us to look like the businessmen and the rulers of a new world. And he wanted us to have a certain amount of dignity and self-respect in who we are as the original people of the planet Earth. So we groom ourselves and we conduct ourselves based upon that fundamental belief and ideology.
Right now, going back into the topic, I almost forgot. Spike Lee has a movie called Chirac. He has a lot of scrutiny. A lot of people are mad. But he also did the Malcolm X movie. When he did the Malcolm X movie, how harmful was that to the image of the Nation of Islam at the time?
Well, quite frankly, I think that was a help to the Nation of Islam. In hindsight, I think that Warner Brothers, and we're going to talk a little bit about that tonight, because in our presentation, we document Spike Lee discussing Warner Brothers' view and objective in making the film. where they wanted to emphasize certain aspects of Malcolm's life and de-emphasize certain aspects of Malcolm's life, but they hoped that it would hurt the Nation of Islam. They hoped that it would break the magnetism between black youth and the message of Minister Louis Farrakhan. But for most, it drew us closer. And so we liken that to what the scripture says. And the Jews planned and Allah planned, and Allah is indeed the best of planners.
So in closing, I want for the youth out there that's popping Molly, they popping pills, they drinking, they smoking, they're fighting each other, they're killing each other, they hate each other. What message do you have for them?
Again, 6 words: accept your own and be yourself. Hearken unto the message of the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, who is alerting black youth that the time has come for them to become the new rulers on the planet. The old ruler, of course, is not going out without a fight. And so he has placed black youth especially in his crosshairs, and arrayed against them are environmental toxins. Arrayed against them is the prison industrial complex. Arrayed against them is a self-destructive and immoral lifestyle. Arrayed against them is a popular culture that continues to dumb them down. I would say to my young brothers and sisters that the best friend you have today is God, of course, but the voice of God in the world today, really the mouthpiece of God in the world today, is the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, and it is his guidance that we need to escape all of the devious and nefarious plans of our oppressor.
Okay, so they might have liked you. They might be like, yo, I like the way he talked. If they wanted to see or hear more from you, how could they contact you or see more of you?
We have a website, researchminister.com. We're in various social media platforms, Facebook, Twitter, and we also have a few YouTube videos out there. We have articles on the finalcall.com website, as well as we have books on Amazon.com. So you could pretty much Google Demetric Muhammad, and you can find our writings, some of our speeches online.
All right, so I want to thank you for your time. I think we cleared up a lot of things. Anything else you want to say to the people?
I just want to thank you, brother, for giving us an opportunity to share our views and share your platform with us. Certainly, if you're in the New York area, we invite you out to Muhammad's Mosque number 7. See, tonight we'll also be at Muhammad's Mosque number 7 in Harlem on Sunday, discussing the history and theology of the minister's call for a Black Friday and Christmas holiday boycott.
All right, so thank you very much.
Thank you, brother.
All right.